Get ready for Real Talk Radio. You're listening to the National Intel Report with your host, John Stadtmiller.
Bob, in answer to this lady's question, she owns her house outright. She's got, as she put it, $4,000 income per month that's not guaranteed. Should she take out a credit line and buy $10,000, $20,000 worth of gold?
Absolutely.
And
the reason why is if she lives in Southern California, her home has to be worth at least $200,000, and so which is the average. Well, it's below average median, and so if that's the case, then we're looking at $20,000 being a very, very small amount, and in relation to the value of our home.
Actually,
so I think that's
Bob. I got a clarification here. They put it up as L.A. on the screen, and that was Louisiana, not Los Angeles. So, yeah.
Well, maybe there the average might be 170, 160,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's still 10%, and so that's still prudent. It's a conservative risk.
Right.
And I think she should take it.
All right. And the other part of that was conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura. That
well, it's always hard to say. John, why haven't they liquidated you and I and Alex and people like us?
Well, I have some theories about that, but I've watched the show. My wife has made me watch every episode of Conspiracy Theory. She thinks it's a good thing. But I'm looking at this, and it's fashioned after it's reality show meets X-Files. And when I say that, the people that are watching this show are a lot of them are patriotic type people, and they see this thing. And they think because they're talking about CFR and the Bilderbergs, or they're talking about this subject or that subject, I don't like the way the thing is presented. It could have been done as a standard newscast. Instead, there's this element in there of Sneaky Pete stuff, and we meet in garages, and here I want you to meet this guy, and it's all kind of done with a. I would have put it straightforward as news investigative team. I would have done a straight up to this, but it's kind of conspiracy, I don't know, cloaked, if you will. Like I said, X-Files.
Well, I think you got a point there. Let's just put it this way. It wasn't necessary to present it that way.
No, it wasn't.
And I do think it detracts. If I was on the program or you, I think we'd want to be sitting in an office someplace or a studio.
Right.
Talking to Jesse and saying, this is the way I see it. And one shouldn't be afraid to be seen. I mean, my goodness, Alex is seen all the time. Stan Monteith is seen all the time. There's no secret about that.
Yeah. Well, and, And folks, let me tell you something. Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! Can get all the funding she needs to keep her stuff going. The red flag to you should be Democracy Now! Right out of the chute. Ford Foundation, which backs her, along with a sundry other little ne'er-do-wells. And, that's been there for years. But when you got something like this, and this program is up for renewal for next year, I don't know, some people see great benefit out of it. I look at it this way. I'm looking at this program through the eyes of the GDP, the generally dumb public. And they wouldn't know a Bilderberger from a CFR from a cigar wrapper. And the important point about this is, what does this have in relation to what's going on right now, the New World Order, the global elite? I would certainly, CFR, this is what they're involved with. Their counterparty is the Round Table in England, who compromises the CFR. What they're made of are business leaders, politicians, so on and so forth. And this is all about transnational corporations and the business climb. This is the way it's being sold to everybody. So, I mean, that's my opinion.
Well, I don't fault the content at all, or the approach, but I don't think that's necessary. They probably would have been better off doing it straight away. But other than that, anything that exposes what they're doing is good. Maybe it could have been done better, but I'm not going to complain about it. And the reason is it's better than nothing.
Well, there you have it. By the way, Bob, the executive order that Obama has signed on January 11th, that was just yesterday, it further diminishes the sovereignty of the states and builds on a framework for possible martial law. Kurt Nimmo's take on this deal. The executive order was completely ignored by the corporate media, like anything of great import. And here's the executive order: by authority, the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, including Section 1822 of the National Defense Authorization Act of 2008. If you want to look that one up, that's Public Law 110-181. And in order to strengthen further the partnership between the federal government and state governments to protect our nation and its people and property, the order reads as follows. The Council shall meet at the call of the Secretary of Defense and the co-chairs of the Council to exchange views, information, or advice with the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Assistant to the President for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, the Assistant to the President for Intergovernmental Affairs and Public Engagement, I don't even like the sound of that one, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Homeland Defense and America's Security Affairs, the Commander, United States Northern Command, there's a red flag, the Chief, National Guard Bureau, the Commandant of the Coast Guard, and other appropriate officials of the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Defense, and appropriate officials of other executive departments or agencies as may be designated by the Secretary of Defense or the Secretary of Homeland Security. You know, it's interesting that they put the United States Northern Command in there because these are the people that are melding with our police departments. The military is going to be helping us out there with traffic problems, folks. Don't you feel good about that? In other words, the Pentagon and Homeland Security, they're going to give the hand-picked governors their marching orders under the guise of synchronization and integration of state and federal military affairs and activities in the United States. That's, by the way, a direct violation of Posse Comitatus, which they threw out, a year and a half ago? So what Posse Comitatus? Rick in Michigan. Hello, Rick. Hey, Rick.
Yeah, how you doing?
Hi.
A couple things. John, I wanted to mention on your sugar thing with the soda pop, you're absolutely right. I think Coke pulled a snafu on us with their Coke Classic back and forth and put the syrup in there.
And you know what? You're exactly right. That's when they did do it.
Yeah, I think that's when they did it. But anyway,
yeah.
I read an interesting article today on the Internet, and I can't remember the source of the name, but he was a CPA, and he was talking about walking away from your mortgage. In other words, if you're so far upside down that, take the hit on your credit report and just walk away from it because the bank owns the house and you're done. And go out and rent something for a while. And I wonder what Bob's thinking was on that.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, because I know...
I've been telling people to do that. I mean, if they're even close. You don't need the expenses. You don't need the responsibility. It's cheaper to rent today. And then if you do have a home and you've got, after commissions, let's say you've got $30,000 or so equity, take it. Because this is not going to get better anytime soon. It's going to get worse.
Right, and I've been trying to encourage my kids to walk away from their mortgages because they're both very upside down. They're down in Dearborn, Michigan.
Oh, boy.
And that's a nasty area to be. But they are so upside down, and I'm telling them, walk away. You're better off, and take the hit on the credit report. That's going to not last forever. They're young enough. They're in their 30s.
Yeah.
And I said, just go.
Well, and we've got this, I don't know, ever since caveman days, we've had our clubs and our fires in the caves, and there's something very territorial about owning your own home. But
yeah, there is, and I think the powers that be have convinced people that this is where you want to be. Own your own home, and you don't really own it. I mean, when they can come and tell you how long your grass can be,
yeah.
and things like that, you don't own it. That's not ownership. That's just you're maintaining their property is what it boils down to.
There you go. And
Yeah.
what are you going to do with how many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
Okay.
They both are in these mortgages locked in, and they're trying to negotiate better deals, and the loaners are not talking to them. They're just saying, "No, sorry, we can't do anything for you."
Yeah.
Well, give it to them.
Yeah.
Let them eat it.
That's what I say. Give them the house. Who cares?
Yeah,
They're not the greatest houses. They're the typical little bungalows.
Right.
They're not palatial estates or anything like
Right.
that. And